Hey you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back, I'm not going anywhere. Boost! Peekaboo, I see you because I'm YouTube famous now. Available Christmas 2027 and a half BC, the album, Dad, Shimmy, Shimmy, F. Rock on, gold dust woman. Beast. What happened to my voice today? What happened to my voice? Well, I was going to take a break today, and I was going to just film my vlog and no other videos, but I was just sitting around, and I was like, you know what, I think I want to film a couple videos, so I ordered a bunch of candles and a candle subscription box, and those came today, so that exciting video, actually I am really excited about making that video. The box is sitting right over there, I haven't even opened it yet, so that box is coming, that unboxing is coming over on my Peter Does Stuff channel, so if you like candles and you want to see, it's a musician-based, earth-based, tarot card-based, Ouija boards, gargoyles, candle company. And somebody had sent me these candles previously that were called like Edge of 17 and Gold Dust Woman, like around Stevie Nicks. And they smell very much like patchouli and nutmeg and things like that. And they have a story that goes with them. And it's like you're getting ready to go out with your friends, and you have the record player playing Fleetwood Mac, and your incense is burning, and it has like these whole like stories to them. It's so cool. It's called Shy Wolf Candles. And so I bought the subscription box for the next 6 months, and then I bought some other candles too, because they have really, really cool candles over there. So anyway, and I had started burning the Edge of 17 one, and it is like fantastically scented. And no, this is not sponsored. I spent my $266 on the candles in the subscription box. So anyway, but I'm going to be doing that over my Peter Does Stuff channel. I wanted to film a little video over here today. I was going to actually wait until Monday to do this, but I was like, you know what? After yesterday's very, very serious video, I thought that I would do something a little bit lighthearted today. I'm using, currently, this is my lip balm du jour, which is a Treat Marshmallow Cream Beauty. People always ask me about this. They're like, where do you get those jumbo lip balms? I get them from Treat Beauty, and the big ones I get from like the Dollar Tree, the dollar store, and stuff like that. But these are from Treat Beauty, and I love them so much, and I just want to tell you right now, they have a sale going on. I actually ordered some last night. I think I ordered like 6 because I wanted to try some things. They have they have a balm like this. It's like a matcha green tea, and it's for under your eyes for like when you wake up and stuff like that. And then I bought a glimmering lip balm, a shimmering lip balm. It's called Mermaid, and the other one's Cotton Candy. And I thought I would use those instead of lip gloss, and we'll try those because I already know that I love Treat Beauty. But right now, I think today, it ends today at midnight. If you order, well, they're $13.99 each. So if you order like 2 of them, because you have to spend at least $24, and you put, I think it's candy apple. You can look on the website. It says on the website. I think it's candy apple. If you put that in the discount code and you add a candy apple lip balm, which is actually tinted, you get it for free. So just want to let you know. No, this is not sponsored by Treat Beauty either. I wish. I love them so much. My friend Melissa actually introduced me to Treat Beauty because she loves these so much. And they last forever. They're fantastic lip balms. And so this was like probably a couple years ago, I ordered some Treat Beauty lip balms, and then I did like a review of them on my channel, and then they reached out to me and they sent me a couple, and that was really, really cool. So anyway, I love them so much. Treat Beauty, you can go up and find them on your own. I was actually looking at them last night because of the discount code, so I was like, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to buy, I bought like Bomb Pop. Well, I shouldn't tell you because I'll probably be doing an unboxing of that as well. But I ordered like Bomb Pop. I ordered the 2 shimmering ones. I think it's like Mermaid and Cotton Candy. And then I can't remember the other one that I bought. I already have bubble gum and whatever, so you can go try that. But anyway, I wanted to make this fun little video today because, well, I hardly ever get on the TikTok. The only reason that I go over to the TikTok is if people send me TikToks. Okay, this is why I don't love for people to send me TikToks. So let me tell you, last night, I spent about a half an hour on the TikTok, and let me tell you why, okay? Because, where is it at? I had it all, where is it at? I had this whole thing all written out about what I watched on TikTok last night. Now I can't find it. Well, on TikTok last night, why can't I find this? Oh, here it is. I put on here why I don't watch TikToks. These are the very serious notes that I write on my videos. Why I don't watch TikToks anymore, and this is why I don't watch TikToks. These are the TikToks that I watch, and I start watching them because people will send me one, and then like I'll just like slide up. This is how you lose like hours of your life. It's like on Facebook, why I don't really go to Facebook very often, because I'll see a picture of somebody that like I'm friends with, and then they'll be with somebody and they'll have tagged them, and it's like somebody that I went to high school with, right? And I'll be like, oh my God, they look so different. Like, what happened to them? And then like I'll go over to their Facebook and I'll see that they're like married to this guy that like I knew in high school as well. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that they were married. And then I'm like looking at pictures of their kids and stuff like that. And then I look at mutual friends, and then I'm like, how do we both know this person? And what happened to them? I haven't talked to them in 15 years. And then I'm over on that person's. And then an hour has gone by, and I've completely wasted my life on people that I will never see again in my life, and I don't even care about, right? And that's very similar to how I feel about TikTok. So whenever I go over to the TikTok, which I very rarely do, I fall down this rabbit hole. And so I just kind of start like going through it. So these were the TikToks that I watched last night, okay? I watched this guy he was talking about, he was from the UK, and he was talking about, I don't know if this is like a trend on TikTok or something. He was talking about, because people always send me animal TikToks. I love those, but you can find those on Instagram too. Now, I do love the Instagram, okay? Thumbelina Squirrel, I just posted her last night. Her dad cut her open her own watermelon, and then it spilled it aside, and he was like, oh, Thumbelina, I knew you'd make a mess out of it. They call her Thumb. He was like, oh, Thumb, I knew you'd make a mess out of it, and then she's like sipping all this watermelon juice. It's so sweet. I love Thumbelina so much. But anyway, so you can watch all of everything they post on the TikTok, like Marv's Big Teeths, I love him too. His moms, they post on the TikTok, but they post on the Instagram too, so you can find all that stuff. But people like will send me these TikToks of like animal rescues and stuff like that, and I love that so much, right? So I'm watching this guy last night on the TikTok, and he was doing, it was names that you would only hear, that like you could only use in the United States, you couldn't have in the UK, and it was like names like, it was like Peyton, Clayton, and then he said Tucker, which I thought was really funny because there's Tucker on Big Brother right now, and he goes, Tucker just looks like somebody that's out playing in the mud and stuff like that. He was like saying all this stuff about these names. And then he said like Bryce and something else. He was like saying all these names that like nobody would ever name their kids in the UK. And then he said, and you know like how like on TikTok they have like, you know, the words, like the closed captioning kind of thing, so you can like read it as you go, but it's like it's never how they say it. It's always the wrong words. And he said in there something about like somebody's name sounded like they would be like bullying kids in the playground as soon as they came out of their mom's puss, is what they said. And I hate that word, first of all, okay? Words that I absolutely hate are meaty, sweaty. I also hate sweaty. Meaty, sweaty, juicy, panties, and poos out. I hate those words, and I definitely hate them used in a sentence together, okay? I also hate the word blouse, and I hate the word trousers, and I hate the word Davenport, which means a couch, if you didn't know. My grandma used to say, I laid out your trousers and your blouse, okay, on the Davenport. So go get ready so that Grandma and I can go, so we can go to the grocery store. So anyway, I cannot stand those words, but I definitely cannot stand the words meaty, juicy, panties, and poos out used in a sentence, okay? And they should never be in a sentence together. But anyway, he says something about, he's like, this kid's name sounds like somebody that as soon as they came out of their mom's, he says the word, he says puss, but he says like poos or something like that. But when it translates it, it says P-O-O-S. And I'm just like laughing so hard. So I watch that one, but then I roll up, right? And the next one that I'm watching is this woman, and she's like 70, and she's watching like, you know, like all these people in the Olympics that have like big body parts, like the pole vaulter and stuff. And she's like watching them, and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, she's like commenting on this, and she's talking about like French guys and all this kind of stuff. And then I watched this girl, I feel like I've seen 400 of these on YouTube back in the day and Instagram, and she puts her hair up in a ponytail. It was kind of funny actually, because it said like, me going through the 5 stages of grief in 30 seconds, and it was this 30-second clip of this girl cutting her ponytail, and she cuts it, and then she's like, oh, it's not bad, and then it's this whole thing. Is this like a viral TikTok? I don't know, but I thought that was the only one that I thought was kind of funny. And then I realized, and then I saw 30 people selling shit that I don't need, and that I will never need, and that I will never use. This is what people do, right? I figured out the algorithm of TikTok, is that you get like one viral TikTok, and then you just sell a bunch of shit, like steamers and stuff that you'll never need, and then they're always like, this is the best treat, beauty. This is exactly what, and it's like all their TikToks are about selling stuff, because they get one viral TikTok, and they're like, oh my god, like I'm gonna sell all this kind of stuff, you know, on TikTok. It was interesting because I don't post TikToks at all anymore, and I've unfollowed everybody on TikTok. I don't follow anybody on TikTok, but this guy, he was really nice. He made this TikTok about me. I talked about it a couple videos ago. Anyway, he said that I had the most aggressive case of ADHD in the entire world. Anyway, and that my yap levels were off the chart. But I thought it was really, really kind. When you think things like that are really, really kind, okay, that means you're getting a lot of, as Robbie DeChristie and Manny and Laura refer to it, is a lot of negativity, okay? When somebody say that you have the most aggressive case of ADHD that they've ever seen, if you think that that's a compliment, then, well, I mean, accurate, but when you think it's a compliment, then you should probably take a look at some of the other comments that you're getting. But anyway, so I'm looking at all this kind of stuff, and oh, this is what I was going to say, is that, like, I'm not ever on TikTok. And the other day, like, I got, like, sent this invitation to, like, sell all this stuff, and I get sponsors. I'm like, I never, like, I just delete, and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, so then I realized I lost 30 minutes of my life, okay, rolling on the TikTok. And I was like, I cannot do this. So I started getting... Well, then last night, I finished season 1 of Dark, of this TV show Dark, that so many people have told me to watch. Girl, I am so confused about this show, okay? I am so confused about this. Have you seen this show Dark that people have told me to watch? Okay, so... I love a good thriller. So this show takes place in Germany, and it starts in 2019, okay? But everything happens on a 33-year cycle. So then it goes back to 1986, and then 1953, and then, I don't know, 19 whatever is 33 years before. I can't do math, okay? I got my glasses on, I can't do math. But anyway, it's always in these 33-year rotations because apparently Jesus was 33 when he was crucified or something like that, and then somebody else was 33, and then somebody else's number is 30. It's all this, like, biblical references, right? But there's this cave in this town, and if you, like, go into this cave, then you go into these doors that are built in this cave, you go to these different worlds, right? And so it's all about time travel. And I'm so confused. Like, I loved it at first because it was kind of like just like this kidnapping story, and you didn't know what happened to these kids. But, like, as it goes on, it's like somebody's brother is their dad, but also their uncle, and then also their aunt that they kissed in 1986, but then they had a kid with in 2019. I'm so confused about it, okay? So when I got done with that, season 1, I started watching season 2, and I was like, okay, now I need to take a little break from this. So I started watching this new true crime documentary on Hulu, and it's called At Wit's End. It is so good about the disappearance and murder of Melissa Witz. I think it happened in 1994. I just watched the first episode, but it is so fantastic. Because, yeah, like, that Dark show is so confusing to me. Like, I'm so confused by what's going on, but I can't stop watching at the same time. It's very much like Sister Wives to me. Like, so many things on Sister Wives confuse me, but I just can't stop watching, right? Like, for example, like, Christine... Every episode, I mean, I am now, like, almost on the 9th season, and every episode, Christine always talks about how she's like, I mean, I always knew I wanted to be the third wife, and then she, like, just looks at, like, everybody, they're like, oh, yeah, like, I don't understand what that means. Do you have to be, like, a plague? They call themselves plague. That's some plague shit, okay? Like, I don't understand that, okay? They call their kids pliglets, first of all. I think that's so offensive, okay? But they call themselves pligs, like polygamous, but they just shorten it to pligs. Is that some plig shit? Like, you understand, like, what order you want to be married into? You know, I don't think Warren Jeff's wives had a choice. I mean, they just were, you know, like, okay, you're number 16, now go into your room and we're going to lock the door behind you. That was kind of the Warren Jeffs kind of thing. By the way, people take so much offense when I say, because, I mean, it's a reality TV show, and I'll say, that the Cody Brown and his wives are FLDS, and people take so much offense to that. They're like, they are not FLDS, they are AUR! It's basically kind of the same thing, okay, if you've looked into it like I have, but they are not FLDS, okay? They were, well, some of them, Cody Brown started LDS. This is a whole TV watching channel video, but anyway. But they are not FLDS. Let me just correct myself, okay? Since other people don't want to correct themselves in their videos where they put out, you know, mass misinformation, let me correct myself, okay? Cody Brown and his wives are not FLDS. I know that. I did my research on it, and I'll probably say it again in the video because it's just easier than explaining with. Then people will be like, what is that other thing that you're talking about? They're made up religions, basically, okay? And they don't ever go to church. They just pray like this in front of the television. I don't know what this is, okay? But they all get on their knees and they pray like in a group towards the television. Can somebody explain that to me? I thought I was watching an episode of like Poltergeist have been made into a television show. No, true story, they do, okay? They get in the living room and they're like, let's all pray, and then they get like, they go like this, or do they do this? They do this. And then they like all are like facing the television, and then they like pray to the baby Lord Jesus and all this kind of stuff. No, Tati, no, gargoyles, Ouija boards. I'm so confused about it. Can somebody explain to me why Christine wants to be the third wife? Does she want to be the last wife, and that's why she's so bitter that Robin Brown came in and now she's the fourth wife? Okay. That's like with The Price is Right. Christine she didn't ever watch The Price is Right, right? That's like when, like, the three people before you bid like $200, $250, you know, and $260, and you know the thing's $60, and then you don't bet $1. Like, why would you not bet $1? Christine, you knew that there was going to be 4 wives. You knew it, okay? But anyway, she's always so proud of being the 3rd wife. So I started getting sent a lot of these. I got a lot of DMs about Manny and Laura. I talked about, Raw Beauty Christie and how she's like talked this whole video, this very scripted video about negativity. And I just want to say, yesterday, I got several comments from people. It really warmed my heart. Like, I don't want to get emotional about it, but it really warmed my heart. There were a few people in my video yesterday that said, Peter, this is the most important video that you've ever filmed over here. Or, Peter, this is my favorite video that you've ever filmed over here. The passion that you feel for this. And it just, I think one of the things that I have been accused of at times is that I'm really angry or I hate these people. And the fact that my video yesterday, because there were people that said things like, this is all completely fact-based, there's no negativity, there's no hate detected whatsoever. And it really meant a lot to me that people understood that. I don't hate these people individually. I hate the ideology behind it. And obviously I would. I hate any kind of ideological belief system that is intent on taking away other people's human rights. And anybody, whatever community you're part of. And I'm very proud of the fact that I was raised by a Christian mother of very strong faith that believed in that as well, and believed that she didn't even want, Christy wants to do a whole dedicated video talking about negativity and not watching negative videos, and my mother was somebody that didn't even allow negativity in her home. If you said anything negative, she would ask you to leave, and so she didn't want any negativity in her home, and she didn't care, and she came from a loving heart. And I think that that's one of the misconceptions, is that we're such a divided society in the United States right now, that, and I want to make this very, very clear, because I am not a gay man that hates Christians, okay? I have a lot of Christian friends of mine that are allies to the LGBTQI plus community. I have a lot of people that are in my audience that are allies to the LGBTQI plus community. I have a lot of friends of mine that are gay and are Christian. And so I don't want that to be the where people see that there's like a dividing point for me, because that's not it. I was raised by a mother that was very, very supportive. In fact, one of the things, and I've talked about this in my vlog, that she was really, really proud of was that the church that my parents were married in Indianapolis, which was St. Paul's Episcopal Church, they were married there, had the first gay wedding in Indianapolis at that church. They also had one of the first female pastors of an Episcopal church in Indianapolis, and my mom was very, very proud of that. And so she was a woman of very strong faith that loved everybody, and I think, and didn't allow, would never have allowed her religious or spiritual beliefs to be weaponized against somebody else. That's what I take issue with, okay? And I just want to say that the response in the video that I did yesterday, and it was I think this is what I was going to say, is that often people and I think it's because they have such strong fandoms for these people. And I said this at the very end of my video the other day, and it was interesting because somebody said, you have such a hate boner for Rosanna Pansino, when I've literally made like 3 videos about Rosanna Pansino over an 8-year course where I post almost every day over here. And I said at the end of my video, I said, when you say in one of my comments that you really hate this person, that's why you're talking about it, that's such a simple response. It's really an ignorant response is what it is. And it was interesting because this person, obviously, because they went on and they didn't watch my video, and I very rarely ever comment to those videos. People don't have a problem when I read positive comments in videos, but they take real issue when I read negative comments, which I'm going to do from time to time, so I just want to make that very, very clear. If you leave any comment on my video, I have 100% right to respond to it. And so this person was going on about how I had this hate boner against Rosanna Pansino and things like that. I don't know her. I've covered her in like 3 or 4 videos, right? And so somebody said, because they had watched it through it was the very end of the video that I said it, I said, if your response to this is because you can't think of any other response, is that you really just hate this person, that's why you're making this video. No, I'm informing consumers about what I think about it, and people have asked me to make those videos. When you say that it's an ignorant, simple response, and somebody commented underneath her video, I don't even need to, because somebody else commented and they said, you obviously didn't watch the whole video, and they were like, huh? Because they didn't know, see, that I had called them out at the end of the video and said, this is a simple response. Like, that's an easy route to say you hate somebody, right? That's such an indication of super fandom. Also, when people, like, come to me and they want to say things like, about this person and that person, or it relates to, like, Colleen Ballinger, or like somebody said the other day about they didn't pass the, Rosanna Pansino didn't pass the Colleen Ballinger, James Charles test or whatever, because what I was saying was that Rosanna Pansino, and I complimented her greatly, I said she's very professional, she has a voice that people listen to, she's respected. Had she had a little bit more to say about the Colleen Ballinger situation other than put a statement out when she was pushed into a corner, then people might have taken, that seriously. In fact, somebody commented on that video and they said, because I said in there, like if she had called out other, people within, large influencers, and they're like, she did call out large influencers over the Mr. Beast situation. And that was exactly my point. She's calling out large influencers over the Mr. Beast situation, which is horrific. I do think it's horrific, right? And I am glad that she's calling them out. But she called out larger creators over that, but she didn't call out larger creators that had aligned themselves with Colleen Ballinger for years on end, including herself, She just distanced herself, put out a statement. That was it. That's all we got, right? And I think the Colleen Ballinger situation was very, very serious. And somebody commented and said, oh, because she didn't pass the James Charles Colleen Ballinger test. And I was like, oh, so what that means is when anybody comes to me or anybody comes, and wants to say something to me and it's related to the Colleen Ballinger or James Charles situation, for me, immediately what that says is that you stand on the side of Colleen Ballinger and James Charles. And that your comments make that very, very clear. Your commentary about that make that very, very clear. I just want to make that, I want to make that. So when people want to come over in the comment sections and they want to say, oh, you take such an issue with this with Colleen Ballinger, absolutely, yes, 100% I do. And I won't back away from that. Just like I'm not going to back away, like somebody put in my video yesterday, it's time to move on about this Robert E. Christie thing, Well, I don't know why it's time for me to move on about something that directly affects my community when, Rosanna Pansino is speaking for women and speaking for contestants in this game, and nobody has an issue with her continuing to talk about it, but because I'm a drama channel, I'm not really sure. It's interesting because, there are, 100 drama channels out there, and it seems to me that I'm like the only one that gets a lot of directed like hate and negativity and things like that. I'm not really sure why that is. I just kind of like, it's like water off a duck's back now, but there's like dedicated things for just me, not for the other people. In fact, they will make videos about me talking about that other person. And I'm like, you could have just made a video about that person, like I really had nothing to do with this. And so I'm not really sure what it is, why people are so threatened by me or what I have to say or how I articulate situations. I don't know why. Those channels all get more views than I do. So if you're talking about them instead of me, you might be getting more views. I'm not really sure, but I think a lot of it is that I've pissed a lot of people off because I've when I go back and I look at it, it's very obvious to me because I can see exactly where it started. And it's that I talked about one of their favorite people, or I didn't give them enough attention that they wanted at that time. I can go back and I can see exactly where it started, right? So it's very interesting to me. But I think it's important, that I continue to talk about things that are important over here. Of course, I want to do lighthearted videos. And I was really, really grateful for the comments that I got on the video yesterday, for the comments that, even comments that were like, kind of like questioning the situation made me think deeper about it and on and on and on. I did get one question, and like sometimes when I'm sitting here talking, this very much feels like I'm talking to a friend. So I'll say things, assuming kind of like that people understand where I'm coming from or what I mean by that statement. And so I'm very ambiguous about what I say. And so I want to be very clear about this because I think this does speak to what I was speaking about with Rob E. Christie and this ideological belief system against LGBT people. I got this comment. The comment was worded very, very nice. So I didn't take the comment as negative in whatsoever. Any way whatsoever. Somebody said, Peter, because I was talking about when I was in like high school health class, right? That in health class that we were taught about like heterosexual, like we were talking about pregnancy, which was heterosexual sex, and we were talking about STDs, and I said heterosexual STDs, and that's what I said in my video yesterday. And this person said, Peter, STDs are STDs. They are not heterosexual or specific for LGBTQ plus people. I intend no offense, but as a healthcare professional, I felt the need to clarify it. And I really appreciate you actually saying this because I think it opens up a bigger conversation on why the situation with Robbie D. Christie and her backing this ideological belief system, which I explained at length in my video yesterday, is so important to me. So I graduated from high school in 1990. I don't remember what year I took health class. I think it was my sophomore, my junior year. So that would have been 1986, 1980, or it would have been 1987, 1988, okay? I can specifically remember talking about multiple STDs when I was in high school. And yes, you're 100%. correct in the fact that STDs are not sexuality specific. But when I was in high school, the one STD that we did not learn about, okay, was HIV and AIDS. That was the one specific thing that we were not taught about in high school, which was rampant at that time. In fact, we were living amidst the AIDS crisis. But that was one thing that we were not taught about. And the one reason about that, probably that I can only think looking back on it, I mean, we learned about every other STD under the sun in health class. But I specifically remember that we did not learn about, HIV and AIDS. Well, what you have to understand is that at that time, HIV and AIDS was seen, the perception of it, okay, from a very conservative, mostly Christian point of view, was that AIDS was God's punishment for gay men. That was the world that I came out in. I've shared the story a lot of when I came out to my mom. My mom was very afraid for me. And she said, I'm scared for you. And I said, Mom, don't worry. And I thought she meant AIDS. And I said, I'll be safe, and I'll be safer as much as I can, things like that. And she said, I'm not talking about that. She was like, if you're talking about AIDS, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That's what a loving and kind mother I had as a Christian, okay? She said, I'm afraid for you because people are not kind to, the society is not kind to gay people. And I always want you to protect yourself. And so, for years, I kind of stayed in the shadow. I didn't ever stand up for myself and whatever. But that was the world that I came out into. I mean, I've shared on multiple videos and vlogs about coming out into a world where I would go out and people would be talking about people that had just passed away. I can remember, I just talked to my vlog yesterday about when I was getting my master's degree, taking a class called Working with the HIV-Infected Client, and having a panel of men that came in whose partners had passed from HIV, and all of them were blind and had Kaposi sarcoma and were walking with canes, and just wanted to die. They didn't want to be here anymore because they were so stigmatized. I can remember watching Designing Women when I was in high school, and there was an episode where one of their friends has AIDS and is going to die, and they ask Julia Sugarbaker he's a designer as well, and he asks her to do his funeral. And the funeral home doesn't want to have a funeral because he is a gay man that is dying of AIDS. This is the world that I came out into, right? This is the world that I am scared for your children to grow up into again, that they have to go back into a world where gay men and other people in the LGBTQI plus community are persecuted over just who they love. I grew up very much in a world that believed that AIDS was God's punishment to gay men. I knew people that died from AIDS believing that it was God's punishment for being gay. You can't take that away from somebody. So when I was talking about what was being taught in the school, you're absolutely 100% correct. STDs are not sexuality specific. But when I grew up, people thought they were. And I'm scared for us turning back the clock of time to that era again. Because we don't have to. We don't have to go back to that again. And people are allowing that to happen. That was a very, very scary time. I came out, in 1990. I came out on my 18th birthday in 1990. That was the world that I came out in, was the tail end of the AIDS crisis, And the reason why AIDS and HIV is not as prominent today within the gay community is because gay men took back that disease and lesbians helped them. And that's just the facts, okay? Was that I can remember going to bars, and when I was in bars, there would be, this is a reality, is it's too much information people don't want to know about. If you were my age and you went to a gay bar, you'll know this. When you went to gay bars, okay, there were huge bowls across the bar of condoms and lube and instructions for safer sex practices. I can remember going to the 10 in Indianapolis, which is a lesbian bar, and they would have packets with dental dams and instructions on how to stay safe. There was free HIV testing and STD testing at bars in Indianapolis. That was the world that I came out into. I don't know a lot of heterosexual people in my generation that came out that were scared for their lives at the same time that they were finding themselves. And so when I said in my video yesterday, and I stood by and watched for years, people that have just killed themselves out of, all this kind of stuff. I remember when, Layla Alcorn killed herself on in front of a train, and her parents misgendered her and things like that at her funeral. I remember when that was a huge story in our country, and kids are taking their lives every single day because they're being bullied or they don't feel like they can live their truth. So yeah, I am very, very scared for somebody out there that has 1 million followers that could possibly spread that ideological belief system or put their money that we're giving them into that. Anybody out there. It's not just Christy. I don't know. I'm sure she's not the only person out there. I'm sure there's many people like that. But yeah, that scares the hell out of me. Absolutely scares the hell out of me. And yesterday's video was very important for me to make. And the one statement that I said in that video that was really, really important for me, because when we talk about own voices writing books, or own voices being actors and actresses in movies, about trans characters and about gay characters, and we talk about own voices within music and things like that, right? And we talk about gay and trans representation in media. It's because we need to be seen. We need to see ourselves. The battery stopped. I grew up in a world where I didn't see myself around me at all. I can remember when Ellen DeGeneres came out on her half-an-hour sitcom TV show. You know, I can remember when this happened on TV shows and that happened. I grew up in an era where the gay character was always the funny person on the television show, you know? That was funny to laugh at. That's the era that I grew up in. I didn't grow up in an era where, and when I came out at 18 years old, the movies were all like, so-and-so dies on Maple Street. It was all movies about AIDS. That was the identification that gay men had. So excuse me that I don't take issue with there being a pride flag flying in a school. And like I said, okay, they're the LGBTQIA plus kids that are dying in our school systems today. I haven't heard one case of a kid that's not in the LGBTQI plus community having their life threatened or dying over one pride flag flying in a school. I haven't. That was the statement that I think was the most important to make. We're so afraid of that. People are so afraid of what that representation means, which to other people it might be a lifeline. I don't know what people are so afraid of, you know? I think what it really is that people are afraid that their kids might be gay, and they're so afraid of that they have to make excuses up for why that is, and they can't just accept that their kids might be part of the LGBTQI plus community. Unlike my parents in 1990 that accepted me lovingly. My father, as a surgeon, as a physician, told me day one, I scientifically, I believe that you were born this way. I've always thought that, you know, and I knew that we were going to have this conversation. My mother, who accepted me and said, I'm worried about your safety. That's what I came out to, thankfully, you know. And today, I'm afraid that we're going to go back to that. I think it's a lot of people that are afraid that their kids are going to end up part of the LGBTQI plus community, and then what will they be able to blame that on? There was nothing to blame it on. It's no more about something that you did when they were 4 years old of letting your son walk around in high heel shoes any more than it is about somebody feeling like somebody is indoctrinating them in the school system. It doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way, you know? So that video was very, very important for me to make yesterday. And I really appreciate the support in the comments that I got. And I really appreciate this comment because that was something that I feel like I needed to talk about when I was in school, how I didn't feel like I was seen whatsoever. I don't even know what it would have been like in my sophomore, junior year when I was so scared to come out to my family, to my friends, to everybody, to have had a classroom where they actually talked about, not from a biased point of view, but they said gay men are dying in this country because of HIV and AIDS, and people are saying this is God's punishment towards gay men. But that's not true. This is a disease. This is a medical disease, and that's not really how it works. And I think people forget that. You know, I think that people forget that pride marches, people want to get so complaining about and talk about why do we need pride marches. I don't know that people remember what pride days were like when I first came out. They were, I mean, people were standing on the sides with banners and poster boards that said the most horrendous stuff. I mean, basically condemning us to hell. I don't want anybody in future generations to have to go through what I went through. I'm thankful I didn't have to go through what people before me went through, because they went through a lot worse than I ever did. And I'm forever... I watched the show Fellow Strangers. I was going to make a whole video about this, but when we were in Miami, I watched the show Fellow Strangers, which is fantastically done, and it's based on a book. And there's a part in it when these two guys that are in love at the beginning of the movie, one of them ends up getting married and having kids because he has to hide out who he is if he wants to be a politician. And that's the world that I grew up in. And they're going to a hotel room, and they have to basically, like, one of them has to hide while the other one gets the hotel room because they can't get a hotel room together. And there Alex, my husband, and I are sitting in a hotel room, a married couple in this country. And I said to my husband, because he had already watched the show, the next day I said something to him to the effect of, there was a time in our country where we couldn't even get a hotel room together. you know? And people want to sexualize that and make it dirty. It's about my husband and I enjoying a hotel room, and I bring my fan because I like us to take a nap together and look at the, you know, the view that we have and enjoy the treats in the minibar and things like that and watch a movie together. People want to sexualize that. It's not the LGBTQI plus community that's sexualizing things. It's the straight, scared, conservative community that's sexualizing things 100%. And what they've done is they have sexualized grades 1 through 6 in a way that should never have been sexualized. This conversation should never have been brought about because it didn't exist to begin with. And they're the ones that are doing it. They're the ones that are sexualizing the kids. That's the truth. And nobody is being indoctrinated or having their lives turned around by a pride flag flying in a classroom. Period. End of story. Nobody is being indoctrinated because your teacher has a picture of her wife or his husband on their desk. Period. End of story. That's just the truth. And people are scared of it. And it was an important conversation for me to have yesterday. But let's transition into something a little bit more lighthearted. So, I thought this video was going to be like 20 minutes today. I didn't think I was going to get into all that. I got sent several DMs from people about this Full Coverage podcast, which is hosted by Manny Mua and Laura Lee, two people that I used to watch back in the day and really enjoyed. And I don't watch their podcast ever, like hardly ever. In fact, so many people have asked me to cover the Jaclyn Hill interview that they did a couple weeks ago. I think I might watch it to cover it because so many people have asked me to cover it. But in all honesty, it's like 2 hours long, and I keep on saying this, but it's like 6 episodes of Sister Wives. I would rather watch 6 boring-ass episodes of Sister Wives planning fake holidays so they can just eat a bunch of food. I would rather do that and watch Cody Brown flip his hair for 3 hours straight than watch 2 hours of Manny and Laura spew out the most ignorant stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I watch like 15 minutes of one video, 10 minutes of another video, and like 20 minutes of another video. And they're just ignorant in what they say, and they don't realize how they constantly are contradicting themselves. So like I said, I don't watch their videos very often. So I went to their channel, I looked it up, and the first video that came up was them interviewing Bailey Sarian. And at first I was like, oh, girl, Bailey, I love you. No, Bailey, no, not on the Full Coverage podcast. And it's so funny, okay, because I'm like watching this, because so many people were like, for the first 20 minutes, they just complained nonstop about the comments that they got on their last 2 videos about their new setup. And I'm watching to hear them talk about the negativity that they received on their videos about their setup and things like that, right? About their new setup on their podcast. And I'm watching this, and it's them and Bailey Sarian talking, right? And it's so interesting when you watch it, because at first, Manny goes in about family vlogging channels. Or somehow they get started on family vlogging channels. Oh, because Bailey Sarian's saying, like, won't it be interesting if these kids someday grow up and then they do, like, a tell-all about their parents and they were family vlogging channels. And Laura and Manny are both like, yeah, family vlogging channels, bad. And then Laura kind of pulls back a little bit. And she's like, I mean, they're not bad if you're, like, showing your kids. But if you're doing, like, dedicated videos, especially if you're like circling the title around them, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this video came out after the Colleen Ballinger situation, and that's literally Colleen Ballinger's entire vlog channel, right? But you've never spoken about your alignment with Colleen Ballinger. Well, Laura Lee didn't have one, but Laura Lee did get in a podcast and speak ignorantly about the situation without doing research. Manny had done videos with Colleen Ballinger. They then take down the video after they got a lot of like comments of people questioning them, what they would probably say is negative, right? They got a lot of what they would deem as negative comments on their video. But then they disabled the comment section, and then they just took the video off completely, right? They've never addressed it to this day. I mean, it's been a year and they've never addressed it, right? And so I'm watching this video and they're talking about family vlogging channels and how bad they are and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, this is so interesting because you've never spoken about the Colleen Ballinger situation, and yet she's a family vlogging channel. She is. You can't say that she isn't. I mean, 4 out of 5 of her, thumbnails, I could look right now, but I want to pull up their comments, so I have it all pulled up. 4 or 5 out of her comments, or her thumbnails, like, typically have her kids in them. She's a family vlogging channel. Then Manny goes in and he talks about how he, like, keeps on seeing this guy at the gym, and the guy followed him from one gym to his new gym, right? And I'm like, ooh, well, that's Real Housewives of Orange County, Shannon Bedore and Alexis Bellino. Whose gym is it? So anyway, and he's talking about, like, he finally talks to this guy. And, in talking to him, he thought he was a lot older, and he's like, oh no, he's like, this guy's like 22, and he's like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm in my 30s, I wouldn't date anybody that's 22, and I'm like, But girl, your best friend is James Charles. You defend James Charles. You defended him to me on the phone. If you knew James behind the scenes, there's evidence of, so you do take issue with the fact of this huge situation, this huge gap, right? So you do take issue with that. So you do understand it, Manny. You do get it, right? You just don't want to, so you take issue with it, and you do understand it. You take issue with, because they go on this whole thing about family vlogging channels about people hurting their kids. And I'm like, you're literally talking about Colleen Ballinger right now, right? So you get the Colleen Ballinger situation. You get the James Charles situation. So then what I understand is, y'all are a bunch of phonies, okay? Because you stand on the side of what you think is going to benefit you. Colleen Ballinger might at some time have a return, and God knows you might want to jump right in there and make some videos with her to build your channel again, because your views are not good, okay? And Laura Lee's getting better views than Manny because she stayed out of all this kind of stuff, right? Like, he every once in a while has something to say. So then I'm looking at this and I'm like, when did this Bailey, they're not talking about this. This is the same setup they've had before. 2 couches or couch and 2 chairs on either side and whatever. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've seen a lot of podcast setups. I mean, it's basically like, they always look kind of like, you know, conference rooms and a radio station to me. They don't really look, I mean, in Los Angeles, they literally have like, y'all know those hair places that you can go to that are like, it's like, what are the solar salons in the Midwest, where it's like you go in, they're called all different kinds of things, but you know what I'm talking about, where you go in, it's like somebody owns their own little space, and it's that's, okay, these podcast spaces, that's what they are. They're soundproof. Then you just go in, and there's like 50 or 100 of them in one space, and everybody's doing all these podcasts, right? That's why they all have these spaces now. So I'll be honest with you, like, I'm never that thrown out with anybody's podcast space. I don't think I've ever watched a podcast and be like, damn, like, that's a good podcast. I mean, I don't think I ever have, you know? So, I mean, and I don't think that I could ever do anything that was that impressive, and I don't claim to ever do anything. But I wasn't ever that thrown out with Manny and Laura's setup anyway. I thought it was okay. I thought it looked very conversational compared to a lot of podcasts I'd seen, you know, setup. So apparently what they did was they changed the setting, and now they took out all that, and it's just 2 chairs with these, it looks like, I mean, it's curtains, but it looks like those blinds in an apartment on either side. And then it's behind them, this wall, and it says full coverage podcast, or full coverage in like gold lettering. And that's like this little table with, you know, like coffee table books on it. And 2 plants, 2 sadly plants that look like they need to be watered. And I didn't really think much about it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I first saw it and the video came up, I was like, oh, now I understand why it looks like a doctor's office. You look like you're sitting in a waiting area of like your therapy appointment. Or are you all now filming in your therapist's waiting area? Is that what's going on, girl? Time's that tough? I was kind of confused. But, because what happened was, I was like, this Bailey Sarian video, they're not talking about this, and I looked, and it came out a year ago. So I was like, oh, I'm on the wrong video. So then I go in and I start watching this video that they did, right? And the video is, they're talking about the Mr. Sandman situation, right? And so they go in, but the first, like, I would say 10 minutes of it, it's not 20 minutes. I mean, the 20 minutes total of them talking about it, but the first 10 minutes is like, they've never received comments like this before ever on a video. Girl, really? Really? Because I saw those comments on your Colleen Ballinger video before you disabled comments and before you took that video down. I think I have them still saved in my phone, okay? Of them people calling you idiots, and people said you didn't do your research, and that you need to apologize to all the victims. I saw those comments that you've never addressed, okay? But these comments you chose to address. These comments about people saying stuff about... And Laura's like, I mean, like, people are so negative. Why is that always to go to? When anybody has, I mean, they talk about the difference between criticism and negativity, and they deem all this as criticism. I mean, when I read the comments, these are people that are like, they love this podcast, okay? These are people that love your podcast. You're pissing on your fans right now is what you're doing, because they gave you a suggestion. They said, we don't like the setup. If it were me, if I tomorrow, like, you know, every once in a while, I get, like, comments where people will be like, you need to change up the hat, blah, 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 whatever. The reason I wear the same hat every single day is because it's my most comfortable hat. But every once in a while, if on this video, I got 30 comments, now I say this, watch, I'll get this, but if I got 30 comments that people said, I'm so tired of that icon hat, wear something different, I wear a different hat. I want to make my audience happy. Why would you not do that? But no, they take such offense to it, right? And so they go the route of Robbie DeChristie. It's not like, let's actually address this thing. If it were me, I would have turned it into, like, let's play into the audience. Okay, hey, you guys don't like our setup that we have now? And they're like, we put so much time and effort into this setup. What? Girl, you have 2 trees in there, 2 chairs, and a coffee table. Can somebody explain to me what time and effort it took to put that in there? I'm so confused about this, okay? And I don't really, to be honest with you, think it looks a whole lot different than the one before. I think it looks like a waiting area, which a lot of people said, and I'm going to read you the comments in just a second. But I don't think it looks horrible. I don't think it looks like anything you even needed to address. I would have just kept it moving if it were me. But, well, if I would have just kept it moving if it was somebody that I cover, okay? Because that's what people typically do. If it were me, I'll tell you what I would have done with it, all right? If people were that unhappy with the setup, that was so easy to change, but it looks like a smaller space. So they must have needed to downsize. That's what they're really bitter about, because it looks like a smaller space is what it looks like. Maybe it's the same space, I don't know. But it looks like a smaller space. And so maybe they had to downsize or get a smaller place because, like a solo salon, they ain't getting that many haircuts anymore. They ain't getting that many views and sponsorships. Hell, I don't know, okay? But what's interesting is, I mean, they want to talk about negativity. They go in with Bailey Sarian, and they go in about Michaela Nogueira and Lashgate. Okay. The tripod fell. Always happens right when I'm getting into the good stuff. But no, it's like, okay, they come out and they start talking about Michaela Nogueira, and I think Bailey Sarian brings it up first, and she's like, oh yeah, I was like late to the game with Lashgate because I didn't even know it was going on. And they're like, oh yeah, why did she wear that? Do you think she wore an eyelash? She didn't need that eyelash. And like Laura and Manny are going off on Michaela Nogueira. Why is it that drama channels have taken so much shit over covering Michaela Nogueira? But Laura Lee and Manny MUA and Bailey Sarian can get in a video, and they can talk mad shit about Michaela Nogueira, laugh at the girl on video, and we get tons of shit for it. Like, seriously? Could somebody please make that make sense to me? And then they want to get in a video and complain about the negativity they received about a set change. No, this is what I would have done with it. I would have said, okay, I would have kind of laughed at it, honestly. And I went, nothing that I'd like, I mean, if somebody said, I don't like your bedspread, I'd be like, okay, what do you think I should change it to? Orange for Halloween? Let me know. I just want to make my audience happy, you know? I don't take anything that serious that I do, but they do. They like took it so seriously that they like put so much hard work and effort. 2 chairs, 2 plants that I'm pretty sure you had in your last setup, a table that I'm pretty sure you had in your last setup, and 3 coffee table books. Girl, I'm confusion. The only thing you spent time on was that sign, and I think it might have been in the last one, right? So anyway, I'm watching this, and I'm like, they go on and on and on talking about all this negativity that they received over this. Like I said, what I would have done with it is I would turn it to my audience and said, what do you all want me to do? Put it in the comment section. How do you think I should change and decorate this? I want you guys to be happy when you're watching this. No, instead they go after the people that are like, we love you, but we don't like this setup. They go after those people, right? I learned that early on. Don't piss off the audience that loves you. Don't do that. That's stupid, right? Why would you ever do that? I mean, people in their comment sections are like, I love you, but this looks like a doctor's office. I love you, but this looks like a dentist's office. So why would you not turn it on those people that love you, but just are not happy with this setup and say, what do you guys think that we should do with this? Let us know. Do we need some more color? Because yes, you do, girl. You need some more color. You need some pop color in there, okay? I don't want to just sit there and look at the two of you just sitting there face to face. But it's a podcast. I mean, I don't know what people expect of a podcast space, but so many people were upset about this. But what was interesting is, okay, let me read you some of the comments, first of all. So I go back to the video where people were talking about it because I wanted to see what people were saying. And the top comment that has 981 likes on here and 30 replies, somebody said, I can't lie. It feels like I'm watching y'all do a podcast at my doctor's office. Okay, I want to read some of these replies to it. Somebody said, I know, right? Like, I love that they decided to change, but the old ones felt more homey and welcoming to me. Oh, at one point, she goes, I think this feels so cozy. And I'm like, girl, I have no investment in this whatsoever because I don't watch your channel, but this is not cozy. This feels very, very sterile, very professional. This does not feel cozy to me at all. What you had up before with blankets on the back of couches and stuff, that felt cozy to me. This does not feel cozy to me at all, right? Somebody said, I know, right? Like, I love that they decided to change, but the old ones felt more homey, welcoming to me. But hey, if they love it, then I guess there's no problem. Somebody said, I love the old one better. Somebody said, bougie doctor's office, like maybe a plastic surgeon's in LA. Somebody said, I like it. I don't know if I'm not used to it yet, but I do prefer the old one as well. Somebody said, agreed. Somebody said, it's giving Botox a visit waiting room. Guys, y'all so much more personality than this. Color is your friend. I had tried watching 3 times and it's not giving. And they go on and talk about, people were commenting about the lighting and it said that they looked gray. I mean, there are a couple comments on here, but like that one has 981 on there. The second one, which has 400 comments, says law offices of Lee and Gutierrez. I'm like, exactly. That's exactly what it looks like. Somebody said the old setup was giving character. Somebody said ZocDoc must have sponsored the setup transformation because I feel like I'm in a doctor's waiting room, still here for you guys. It doesn't matter that much. Somebody said not the set being canceled on its first day. Somebody said I'm just reading these straight down off the top comments. It's pretty, but it doesn't match you guys' fun personality. Feels too serious. The old setup was so much better and more fitting to the podcast. It looks like doctor's office now. Sad to see it go. Do you guys see these as negative comments? I mean, at all? I mean, do y'all want me to read you some of the negative comments that I get? These are not negative comments, okay? At all. At all. I feel like these people are like, hey, I love you, but it's just a setup, blah, 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 whatever. So they go in for like 20 minutes on this thing about 10 minutes of it is dedicated to how much negativity they received over the setup and the lighting, okay, on their videos. And they're talking about how, like, they read comments for the first hour and then they just couldn't at all anymore, right? That they just were like, I can't go there anymore. I can't read this. And I'm like, over the setup, I was like, I really needed to read it. I was like, are people literally saying, like, you guys are literal trash, like, I can't deal with you anymore, and whatever? Because I'm not seeing those kind of comments on there, right? I'm not seeing them being referred to as, horrible people, pieces of shit, all this. I'm not seeing all that on there, right? Like, I'm just seeing them say, like, hey, I like you, but, like, this needs to change a little bit. I like the old one better. They changed it. They knew they were going to get that. But then it turns into this really weird conversation about, after they've spent 10 or 15 minutes talking about how upset they are about the negative comments, it turns into this conversation about the only thing that's important is self-validation. Yeah, like, I totally always used to post pictures because I wanted validation for others, but I don't do that anymore. And then Manny's like, yeah, like, me neither. Like, I don't seek validation from anybody. And I'm like, you literally just dedicated 15 minutes to this podcast talking about how much you sought validation from your viewers that didn't like your set. And then Laura, like, brings it back around. She's like, that's why it's important for me to talk about this set situation, because we really don't need validation from other people. And he's like, yeah, I totally agree. And I'm like, except that you just spent 15 minutes talking about how you did need validation from people. So what is it? I'm so confused by this. Can somebody please explain to me what I just watched? And then people want me to watch 2 hours of them going back and forth with Jaclyn Hill that lies straight through her mouth, doesn't make sense, and contradicts herself all the time. I'm sorry, I can't, okay? Please, please, please buckle me in a chair, and make me watch football games from 1967 on repeat, okay? I don't understand football, I don't get it, but I would rather watch that than 2 hours of this full coverage podcast, But I'm thinking about watching the Jaclyn Hill podcast just because I think it's such entertaining things to talk about, because they are just such fools. Their podcast it's almost at this point where I'm kind of like, are they, like, embracing the full part of the full coverage? Because they say, like, I don't know, like, if they watch themselves back or anything, but it's so crazy to me, like, how ignorant they sound. That's not she says in their criticism is fine. Okay, I'm giving you a criticism, Laura Lee, okay? I don't think that you guys are ignorant. I think that you sound ignorant. That's a huge differentiation, okay? So just so you hear what I'm saying. I do not think that you guys are ignorant. I think you sound ignorant. And I think it's because you don't do your research. I think it's you don't even, like, look over your note cards before you go into these conversations. And you definitely don't watch your videos back, because you say things all the time that contradict stances from the past. And I actually think, and they're not somebody that I bring up. I'll bring it up when I talk about them. But had they ever addressed the situation with Colleen Ballinger and Manny Mua, had they started their next podcast with that and dedicated 10 minutes to it, and Laura said, I don't know, Colleen Ballinger, I don't know it at all. I've never met her. Whatever. But I didn't do my research on the last video talking about the victims, and I should have done that. And because this is such a sensitive topic and we screwed it up the first time, we're not going to do it again. We're not going to have the conversation again. And Manny should have said in that podcast, and Laura should have allowed him to do this, he should have said, because I put a lot of thought into this through the years, the last year. Manny should have said, and I need to take responsibility, because I do know Colleen, and I have done videos with Colleen, some of which people could look back on and deem problematic. And I feel really bad for that in retrospect. I feel bad that I was part of those things. But he doesn't, so he can't say it, right? And, we did do this podcast, and we talked about the situation, and we didn't look into the research. We didn't look in what had come out recently. We didn't look into the allegations. We didn't look into the factual evidence. We didn't do our research. And like Laura said, this is a very serious, sensitive topic. And we don't think that we need to add our voices to it, because we were ill-informed the first time, and we don't want to make that same mistake again. People would have looked at them, and they would have respected that with, like, mad respect. They would have said, wow, they took accountability, And they learned this. Let's not act like they don't know this, okay? Laura Lee came out with the worst apology video in the entire world. Manny Mua came out with the second worst apology video, then talked about his, personal life being in the green while his social blade's in the red. They want to talk about being canceled all the time when they're still having thriving careers, living in $1 million houses, having their own brands. They're not canceled. They've never been canceled, okay? That's a joke word. So many people that liked Manny Mua and Laura and heard about all those allegations continued to follow them. Okay, it wasn't like the next day they were working at the In-N-Out Burger. That just was not a reality. They haven't been canceled. Period. Do they have to take some shit for some shit that they put out there in the world? Yeah, absolutely. So do they know how to maneuver this world? 100%. They've been there before. The fact that they just chose not to address it at all is very similar to Michaela Nogueira, is very similar to Jaclyn Hill, is very similar to Trisha Paytas, is very similar to, now Raw Beauty Christie. It's just, and James Charles, let's just keep it moving. Let's just keep it moving. Let's not address these very serious situations. That then leads to their fans saying they don't have to address it, right? But that's where, for me, they lost me. Like, they have no credibility because they couldn't even come out and address a situation that they had part in. They got on video. I can tell you right now, if I made a video like they did in that podcast, and I said the things about if I said things about Colleen Ballinger that they said in that podcast, it would be demanded that I come out and make a retraction, make an apology, and correct it. Or I can tell you that I would lose thousands upon thousands of subscribers off of my channel. I know that. Because drama channels are held to a higher standard than the influencers that are doing these things, only by speaking on it, right? That's just the truth. Well, y'all are drama channels now. Y'all are drama channels, so you can take the heat, okay, about somebody being upset with your set. But if it were me, just a word of advice, if it were me, when your top 20 or 30 comments are all about fans of yours that don't love your setup, maybe speak to your audience and say, hey, it seems to us like a lot of people don't like our setup. What would you guys like to see? Put it in your audience's hand, okay? That will get people coming back for more, and it's not like you guys are, hurting to, like, push people off. I notice, Manny, you don't tell people anymore that they don't have to stick around and subscribe if they don't want to, okay? So you might want to keep as many people as you can, and that would be a really good way for you to interact with your audience and say, obviously, people don't like this. Make a joke about it. Say, we thought it looked good. We thought this looked good. Obviously, we didn't. Instead of being so, defensive about it. And then turn it to your audience and say, well, we're going to leave it up to you. Give us some suggestions in the comment section below, and we're going to change this up. Be Auntie Mame. If you don't know who that is, she changed her living room every 3 months. Y'all could change this thing up every 2 weeks. She could have turned it into a whole thing. We're going to move things around. We're going to move how we sit every 2 weeks. We're going to make a joke out of it. You took yourself so seriously over a situation of a set change. Seriously? And you have the audacity to speak on serious situations like Colleen Ballinger, the Mr. Sandman situation, and other situations, and you want people to take you seriously, and this is what you get upset about. You have no clue. You don't get it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I got Sister Wives to watch. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.